Well, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to No Final Bell episode 18. You're probably wondering to yourselves, something seems a little different. The video quality seems a little bit better. Well, kind of upgraded here in Tinkle Sports. Finally got a web camera that works a lot better than the one that was already on my laptop itself. And the microphone, I don't know how it's going to sound. I would assume it sounds probably better, if not worse. I don't know. I'm going to try the video quality on this and also the microphone on it. It's a dual microphone with also a video camera. I know enough talk about that. Let's get into some wrestling talk. We really don't have any Impact news, but Marty does have some news he wants to share.
Yeah, so just recently it was announced on Twitter that Davey Richards has signed a new deal with MLW. So it's safe to say Davey Richards, for the foreseeable, for at least a few more years, is MLW bound. I mean, it makes sense too because he just won the Opera Cup earlier this year. I don't think they would just have him win it for nothing if they didn't see potential in him as a star in the company. So I absolutely think that Davey Richards has found a new home with MLW, and all the power to him. I mean, he's really killing it in MLW right now, and I think that, besides maybe Impact, MLW is probably the best place for him.
Right. Yeah, I mean, probably is. We also kind of wanted to talk about some news too, as Toni Storm has just been recently released by the WWE. Kind of a shocking moment for WWE, as she was doing pretty good in NXT UK. She was doing really good in NXT. I thought maybe she could be the next top women's wrestler in WWE, and then she just gets released.
So we have a little bit more information about that. Apparently, she spent money out of her own pocket to book a flight home. So she basically quit. And WWE just said, oh, well, okay, if you're going to quit, then bye. Released. Fired.
So, WWE is slowly becoming a company where nobody wants to stay there. They're just giving up on the company. They're just, they don't like what's going on with the foreseeable future there. And it's really getting to the point where even when they're poking fun at all the releases, it's just, WWE is becoming so much of a joke. It really is.
See, that's my problem too, is they make a joke out of, Vince made a joke out of it. He's like, oh, I love releasing people. I love firing people. I love firing people right before the holidays, too. It's always the fact that you joke about it just shows how petty of a man he is.
Yeah, and
he has never cared. And I don't think he ever will.
Yeah, they really only care about a few people here and there, and then they don't build around the superstars after the fact.
Better yet, you call them employees, but yet they still don't get royalty. Well, the only royalties they get are from WWE branded, they don't get royalties from Twitch or anything third party nowadays. You're not. So long as you have a contract with WWE, you can't even do any of that stuff anymore.
No. So, yeah, it's sad, honestly.
Any source of income outside of the WWE agenda or brand or whatever you want to call it, anything outside of WWE that you're earning an income from, WWE is like, nope, can't do it.
Yeah. So, well, as we go away from that, it's sad when it happens, but
very sad.
WWE is just not the way it used to be at all, and
I don't understand how anybody can be a fan nowadays.
No, honestly, I don't know either.
I don't regret switching off from their product in 2019.
Yeah. I mean, I'm not either. Even when it was around before 2019, I was still not really watching it because I already knew back in the day of that time it was just unwatchable. It was the same thing every single time. But
It's
what isn't anything that's, the same every single week, we got AEW talk,
yes.
and we're bringing back our segment, the best sign of the week. The only one that I saw that was out there and interesting was the freshly squeezed just in time for Christmas Eve. I kind of like that. I think it was creative. I like it. Um, Orange Cassidy has just been putting bangers of matches on, and he put on another banger with Adam Cole. I mean, he really did. So I'm, and so why not have a sign like that? Honestly, it's a good one. I like it. Really creative and kind of kind of was like my sign in Rochester.
Oh yeah, squeeze me some Orange
Yeah,
Cassidy,
squeeze me some Orange Cassidy.
which
So
has been signed by Orange Cassidy himself, and he even took the time to color in the rest of the sign that we initially were going to color in, but we just didn't have time. It was right before Dynamite in Rochester,
right,
so. And I
but
told him that too. He pointed it out. He's like, "You didn't even color in the rest of the sign." And I said, "I know, we didn't have time." But he colored it in and
well, if
signed it.
there's speaking of that match, there's a certain someone who
Yeah.
is now all elite, and we kind of figured it was gonna happen. Kyle O'Reilly is now
The Undisputed Era
all elite as he
is in
debuts in a
AEW now.
match between Adam Cole and Orange Cassidy, and then Adam Cole wins the match, and then both factions are beating each other up. Um, of course, as like I said, it's going to lead to a 5-on-5 match. We already talked about it here before. I don't think there's much more discussion about it. Um, as of course, we still haven't watched the current AEW
Most
Dynamite.
recent.
We will talk about that in next week's episode. We will talk about some updates as they prolong. There probably will not be a episode. There will be an episode probably next week. The following afterwards will probably not be a show because I will be in Miami watching the Patriots and the Dolphins play each other live. So I we probably will be doing. Well, I don't know. We haven't decided. We probably will be doing an episode. Um, if not the day before, we usually initially um upload episodes, if not the day of. I still haven't decided yet. But as far as that, yes, Kyle O'Reilly is now all elite. He is joined up with his former brethren in Adam Cole and Bobby Fish, as they will be in a six-man tag team match on New Year's Smash. And honestly, I will tell you this. Man, it was only a matter of time when he got released or was done with his contract in WWE that he was going to wind up in AEW.
Yeah.
It just seems like all these former NXT guys that were doing such big things are not ending up in AEW, and it's kind of like WWE. This is just, oh man, NXT was so good back in the day when they actually cared, and now they're just not caring and not that great. Very soon, I think it's going to be time for them to eventually pull the plug on NXT, but it's probably not going to happen because you do have to develop some stars, even though they're technically just really WWE bred. They're not even actual wrestlers. They're like former football players, former other sports players, and then you bred them in the NXT, and then you're doing what with them? Having them up the main roster and then releasing them shortly afterwards. That's what seems like it's going to happen to me.
Well, let's not also forget. Let's not fail to mention too that why is AJ Styles in NXT? Like have you just run out of ideas already for AJ?
I mean, he does have that thing going up with Omos, but honestly,
Well, they
probably have.
broke up that tag
They
team.
probably, yeah, but they're gonna apparently be feuding because you know how that all works. Tag team, they split, they feud, and then they go on their separate ways. Like, it's, I hate to say it, very soon it's probably gonna be time for Omos to be released as well.
He's not that believable to me. I hate to say it. Like, yeah, he's taller than Braun, but at the same time, it's like Braun was actually a lot more athletic and not as like, not necessarily like, I don't want to use that word, but in a sense of like Braun wasn't as lazy in the ring as Omos.
Yeah,
So,
I guess that's true.
like to me, Omos is kind of like okay, maybe lazy isn't the right word, but like slow in the ring.
Right.
Omos is very slow in the ring as that I like I haven't watched a lot of Omos, but like from what I've seen is like Omos is very slow compared to somebody like Braun. So,
Yeah, that's true.
but I can see I would say this about Omos, like the only reason I can understand why he's slow is because he's a giant. And giants are not really supposed to be like the most agile, athletic guys in the world. But at the same time, it's like he could be a little more productive in the ring.
That's true. He definitely can be a little bit more proactive, but going forward, even after Adam Cole joined up with Bobby Fish and Kyle O'Reilly, the Young Bucks seem at odds. Like, oh, really? This is the Christmas present. So it seems like more of a Christmas present to yourself than to us. Um, as they were receiving some weird looks from the Young Bucks. Do you think that there is some tension between Adam Cole and the Young
Absolutely.
Bucks after that?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I think so. I think that what I already said, probably after the fact, is that I mean, I would like to see the faction versus the faction of the Super Click versus the Best Friends. I think that's going to happen. But what I can also see is the Young Bucks and Kenny Omega versus Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly in a six-man tag team match. So yeah, I think there's some tension there. I think the Young Bucks are like, so you're kind of just throwing us to the wayside just to join up with your former brothers in Kyle O'Reilly and Bobby Fish. Like, but what about us? I thought we had a thing going on. So I think they're a little jealous that they got pushed aside, the rug pulled underneath them in a way for two guys that are former WWE guys at this point, and now they come to AEW. Like it's just crazy, um, to think that you know Young Bucks. Yeah, they're the top of the level. It would be nice to see. I don't see. Also, the other question I think is who ends up leaning as the heels and who ends up going as the baby faces if they were to go up against each other type of thing. What I can see is a face turn for the Young Bucks and Omega, and then somehow a heel. I mean, I guess they're technically heels right now, but um, Adam Cole, Bobby Fish, and Kyle O'Reilly kind of more as the heelish group, and then Young Bucks and Kenny Omega kind of turning heel or turning face again and being that face group. I guess I can kind of see that happening. Yeah, Kenny Omega has been out recovering from his current injuries, but honestly, I really do think that it's going to lead to a match. As far as the match, I have no idea when it's going to happen.
I mean, we'll see what happens, but yeah, Young Bucks and Kenny, as weird as it is, it'll kind of be refreshing in a sense when not if, but when the Young Bucks turn face, because like at this point we're so used to seeing the Young Bucks as the heels that like when they turn face again, it's just gonna feel like weird. So
I know. It will feel weird, but honestly, I think it's the right move for them to do. I kind of like the Young Bucks as faces a little bit better than them as heels
I can
because
tell
they're
you
just a
right
little
now,
too much
though.
as heels right
I
now.
can tell you right now, though. Kenny Omega's gonna get a hell of a pop when he returns.
Oh yeah, of course he will, which will lead into a face turn, I think. Um, Also, I'm shocked this is not happening at Battle of the Belts, but it's happening 3 days before Battle of the Belts. Kind of makes you think that if there's going to actually be a third match and leads into another 60-minute time limit draw. But Adam Hangman Page will have that rematch with Bryan Danielson on a TBS debut. The very big question is that when we will see a new champion crowned?
I don't know because they're implementing the use of judges for the contest, so something tells me we'll get another draw, but this time it'll be a judges draw.
Yeah, I can honestly see that happening, which will lead into Battle of the Belts, which is literally 3 days after Dynamite, which is it's weird.
So we're
Um,
gonna get 3 programs of Dynamite in that week.
and I will say this now, yes, I do see it being a judge's draw, and I am actually glad it will be for judges. But I will say this now, the third and final match will be I think a time like no time limit or something like that, or some kind of match where they will beat the living crap out of each other but have no time limit.
Yeah.
Um,
And at that point, I think we would have a decisive winner in Bryan Danielson.
yeah, I will say that I think at the Battle of the Belts little special event, which we will be talking about, I mean, I'm gonna try to watch it when I'm in Florida. No promises, of course, because it's a Saturday, and as far as TNT goes and Miami in the hotel, I'm gonna try to watch it. But as far as that goes, yeah, we'll be talking about it here on this show. And as far as a third match with a decisive winner of a change of titles, yeah, I think that Bryan Danielson will win. I mean, it'll suck to have those two draws on the record,
Yeah, well,
but I think that honing a new era in TBS with Bryan Danielson as a champion makes the most sense. It sucks that then Adam Hangman Page, you don't know what you really do with him after the fact. Um, Same thing with Bryan Danielson. If he loses this, like actually loses to Heyman and Page, it kind of puts a derail on on
you
his.
derailed all of the momentum that he had ever since he debuted at All Out if he was to lose. So you definitely don't want to,
Yeah, both men
But
are in a.
they're in a tough spot. They're in a very tough spot, both men, because if Hangman loses, it pushes him down the card to maybe TNT Championship. But then if Danielson loses, then it derails all of the momentum that he had once he debuted at All Out.
Yeah, I honestly see Bryan Danielson being one of the many former WWE guys to win both main companies' world titles. That I can see happening. Of course, with WWE and also AEW. Um,
Well, I
Speaking
look at it
of
this way.
more of Adam Hangman Page and Bryan Danielson, Page says he feels disappointed he couldn't get the job done. Bryan Danielson says he will kick Hangman's ass again, and he will be fully healthy for the rematch because he says well, the only reason why I couldn't get a job done is because I was 100%, which could be true, but again, you still couldn't get the job done. Um, and he will be. Yeah, Danielson wants to have judges for the match to have a clear cut winner. I don't think there's going to be a clear cut winner with judges
No.
because they're going to be very biased and say, well, they both did well. We're going to have to call it a draw. Both men are like, are you kidding me? Again, we get a draw? And then it'll be something like, well, there's an event called Battle of the Belts. I'm going to put this title on the line with you. And I think this time it could be in a steel cage. It could be, well, not lights out because it doesn't go against the record. They can't really have a lights out match for the title.
I mean, they could, but at the same time, it would still be a tight. It would. If there's a title change, then it would have to be like officially recognized as a title change.
So I think it's going to be something where there's no time limit. And that would be interesting to see happen in AEW. But I honestly, we could be wrong. We could be totally wrong, and then somehow they don't have it. But it's called Battle of the Belts for a reason. So you would have to have all the titles on the line January 8th. Which, by the way, did not get anybody confused. January 5th is when AEW debuts on TBS, but Battle of the Belts will still be on TNT, as weird as that sounds.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
So, if you're looking forward to like seeing Battle of the Belts January 8th, make sure you have it on TNT, not on TBS. Going forward, again, Wardlow kind of figured he beats Captain Sean Dean. And then yet again, Sean Spears uses the chair. What is with Sean Spears wanting Wardlow to finish off these matches in no time, not keep on going with these power bombs, and then comes in and beats his opponents down with a chair? Like, there has to be something boiling up between Wardlow and Sean Spears. And I'm ready for Wardlow to pull Sean Spears in the ring and give him a power bomb or something like that, and then walk out. I think it's boiling up for something.
I think it's going to lead to Wardlow turning on MJF eventually.
Oh yeah, of course.
Because I'm pretty sure at this point Wardlow is done with MJF's shit.
Yeah, he is. It's been like that the last few weeks too. I think Wardlow is done with MJF. He's done with the Pinnacle. I think he's just ready to go on his own thing, and I would be all for it. It sucks that he's going up against little jobbers every single week. Like, what's this all about? I mean, I know you have to build him up in a way, and I'm kind of glad that AEW is doing it in the right sense for Wardlow. I hope this means big things for Wardlow. I can see him as a champion eventually, and I think he might not be the best guy in the world, but he's still that kind of big, chunky guy.
Yeah.
And then you look at it and like, yeah, but this is exactly what they could have done with Brian Cage, which, fortunately with Brian Cage, I think he'll be released in 2022, just because, I mean, there might be some releases for AEW. Of course, every company goes with it, but don't expect it to be like multiple cuts within AEW. It's only cuts for guys that really aren't seen on AEW television every week.
Look at Big Swole. But I think Big Swole's situation was that she just didn't allow her contract. She wrote out her contract with AEW and didn't sign a extension. So it was a mutual release with AEW. And that's what I think the difference would be between like AEW and WWE is the releases from AEW would be mutual, meaning like, oh yeah, we just didn't allow, I just didn't sign an extension, and I didn't want to. I talked to Tony Khan, and we didn't sign an extension or re-sign in general. So
right.
It's in our best interest that I no longer do business with you.
Well, going forward, Dan Lambert has been very vocal with a lot of things about his group, the American Top Team,
And the Men of the
and the
Year.
Men of the Year. But Dan Lambert literally has was saying that anyone that isn't friends with Tony Khan doesn't get anything but opening matches and backstage stuff. He hopes that both of his guys are next after the Christmas Day match. Very well could be in line. I mean, Cody is now we'll
Dan
talk.
Lambert has a point. I mean, when was the last time you saw Ethan Page or Scorpio Sky, for that matter, in a title match?
Yeah, exactly.
Ethan Page probably since that one-off TNT title match where the stipulation was if Ethan Page won the TNT title, that Sammy Guevara was done with the Inner Circle for good, and then if Sammy wins, he gets to pick the two other people to fight alongside or the three people to fight alongside Men of the Year.
Right, exactly. So, I mean, I really do think that Cody will face off against both of those men in the coming weeks, just so then he doesn't have to worry about them anymore. The only thing is that um, I'm ready to see. The only good thing about Cody being the champion, of course, we'll talk about a little bit more about that, but I guess I will say the good thing about Cody when he was TNT champion is he brought in the open challenge. So I'm ready to see more of the open challenges for the TNT title. You know, he always brings in other, like new guys that come in and get signed to AEW. So, I mean, I'd be interested to see. You know what I can honestly see? And it's very heavy speculation that he will end up in AEW. Don't be shocked if somehow there's an open challenge in Cleveland, Ohio, and Mr. Johnny Gargano answers that open challenge.
It's heavily rumored that that's the plan for Johnny Gargano because he's reportedly very close to signing with AEW, and the plan is for him to show up at the Cleveland show. So I wouldn't be surprised at all if they end up having an open challenge in Cleveland, and then next thing you know, maybe not the Rebel Heart theme because I think that's property of WWE, but even then, just hearing, just seeing on the Titantron Johnny Gargano or like Johnny Wrestle, whatever they decide to do for Johnny Gargano's Titantron, and then just hearing that Cleveland crowd just lose their minds over the sight of Johnny Gargano in AEW.
I know exactly.
That would be something.
I mean, I will just say that, like, you're going to be seeing the open challenges probably once again in AEW, and I'm all
By
for
the way,
it.
that crowd hated the fact that Cody Rhodes is a three-time TNT
Oh, yeah,
champion.
no, exactly. Well, going a little bit more with Dynamite, Britt Baker, which was like a little weird Christmas party there, was saying that Riho, which was a shot to A Christmas Story, saying that Riho will shoot her eye out trying to win her title from her. Thoughts? Do we think that Riho has a shot in hell against Britt Baker for that women's title, or do we think that Britt Baker, DMD, is going to retain and keep her title for another day?
Not a chance. I think Riho, because they got to do something with Riho in AEW. I mean, granted, I know she's mainly like Stardom in Japan, Joshi, but who's to say she couldn't be the women's champion again in AEW?
Yeah.
She's the inaugural. Who's to say she couldn't be a two-time? And even then, Britt's had her time as the women's world champion. Like, who's to say you couldn't make Riho a two-time?
Yeah, I think that Riho becoming the champion again would make the most sense here. Rio has been looking really, really good in her return back to AEW. She's been prominently used.
She's very convincing for 90 pounds of
I,
soaking
I
wet.
honestly think that she will win the title back from Britt Baker. I really do think that honing into the TBS era of AEW, you're going to be seeing a brand new AEW. I think you're going to be seeing quite a lot of new champions honing into the TBS era.
Yes.
So I'm all for it, and I'm ready for a title change, and I think Riho is the right one for it. So I'm all for it. I don't think she's going to shoot her eye out trying to win the title at
No.
all. If there's anybody, Britt Baker is going to be the one that's going to, be doing that. Um, of course, we have a big old tournament that's going to be
Yeah.
stopping at Double or Nothing,
The Owen Hart Cup.
the Owen Hart Cup. A lot of wrestlers were talking about the amazing man that Owen Hart was as a wrestler and family man.
He
He
truly
just
was.
had that kind of impact on everyone, old and young.
Yeah, he was something special, man. Owen Hart, just, I don't think anybody can truly replicate Owen. I mean, maybe the closest second, I mean, in terms of like the family man, was Brody Lee, but in terms of like technical wrestler, I don't think anybody can truly like capture the essence of like technical wrestling that Owen Hart did.
Right, exactly. I don't think that. I think this is going to lead to something huge for both the women's side and the men's side. And I hope that something comes out of it. Like, yeah, you win the cup, but then what's going to happen after the sense? Like, are you going to actually, like, will lead into, like, a future title shot? If you win it, like, I would be
Is it
all
going to
for
be
that.
something like the Dynamite Diamond Ring, which, if it is, then it was kind of underwhelming? But
I guess we'll find out in the coming, within the new year. Because, Double or Nothing isn't usually until May
yep,
of next year. So we'll happen to have to see what happens on that sense. But something of a big surprise. Ruby Soho beats Nyla Rose to go into the finals of the TBS Championship Tournament. As far as her opponent in the finals, I have no idea right now. Um, but I guess we'll just move forward in the sense that Thunder Rosa and Jade Cargill will face off next week. Thoughts? Who do we think will
I
win
think it's going to
between
come
them?
down to Ruby Soho and Jade Cargill, although I will be very surprised if Thunder Rosa is the first person to uh, put is the first person to beat Jade Cargill. I will be very surprised if they
Um,
actually go ahead and give Jade Cargill her first loss to Thunder Rosa. But
I
something tells
think
me it'll be Ruby Soho.
I think Jade Cargill is the right one to win here, but her losing to Ruby Soho, I guess, wouldn't hurt as bad because there's still two women's championships.
Yeah.
So it's not like it's going to really derail her that much. Um, I think the one that makes the most sense to be the TBS champion heading into the TBS era, even though technically that's January 5th, and Battle of the Belts is January 8th. The finals, which so far I'm looking like I'm correct about the finals. I think the finals match will conclude at Battle of the Belts. So that's when I think you'll see the crowning of the new TBS champion. And that's going to be Ruby Soho and I think Jay Cargill. So sorry, Thunder Rosa, but I don't think your chances at a championship are done and over with yet. It just won't be as the TBS champion.
I look at it this way then. If Thunder Rosa loses, then I believe Riho will lose. and then we get Thunder Rosa and Britt Baker in a rematch, but this time for the women's world title. And in that case, Thunder Rosa would be the new women's champion.
That would be
New
nice.
women's world champion.
I guess we'll have to see what happens in the line of what AEW wants to do with that. Speaking of two women that are apparently not done with each other, Serena Deeb and Hikaru Shida aren't done with each other.
That never-ending feud.
Thoughts on that? I'm all for it, as long as it comes into whoever wins gets a future title shot.
Yes.
Because Serena Deeb is more than capable of showing that she can be a champion. She is a former NWA Women's World Champion, so I honestly think that her time at AEW is definitely coming to that fruition that she can be a Women's World Champion.
Yeah, I can agree with that.
Hikaru Shida is already a former AEW Women's World Champion, so she is more than capable of holding her own due. So I'm all for it. I think it's going to lead into Revolution, where there needs to be a stipulation where whoever wins gets a future title shot, because if you're just going to have that match happen and then nothing afterwards, you're like, well, you kind of just wasted a match in a sense. So sure, I mean, there's not much more I can really say to that than okay, but there needs to be something that comes along with it.
Yeah.
Like that's all I'm saying. Something of big surprise, kind of figured. Malachi Black beats Griff Garrison and then gives his partner the black mask. I mean, clearly they're not done with each other. I mean, no. As far as when we're going to see the new member of the House of Black, I have no idea. Probably in the new probably a New Year's match, probably when they debut on TBS. I have no clue. I'm looking forward to either or. That's all I gotta say. Sting, Darby, and CM Punk beat FTR and MJF. Were we surprised at this fact? I mean,
not really.
Sting, Darby, and CM Punk, I kind of figured. But every time CM Punk got tagged in the match and MJF was in there, MJF, why are you picking fights with CM Punk if you're just going to run away from him? You can talk as much shit as you want to. You really can.
Right.
But if you're just going to run away from somebody you've been literally talking shit about every other week, because it seems like 1 week it'll be CM Punk, 1 week it will be MJF, 1 week it'll be CM Punk, 1 week it'll be MJF. If all you can do is talk and then have to run when you're trying to face off against CM Punk, do you really think that you're capable of beating that man? No, I don't think so. I'm sorry, but CM Punk will remain undefeated, and I'm hoping that it will lead into a title match. I think that CM Punk and one more title reign is probably in him. I don't know if it'll be TNT title. I don't know if it'll be world title, but honestly, a CM Punk title reign is definitely in the future plans, I feel like. MJF, I would like to see him win a championship. He's never won one in his career, in his 3 years, because he's basically been in the company since the start. Yeah. The only closest time he has had to a championship was the AEW World title against Jon Moxley, where he lost. So I think that his time is definitely there to being a champion. I just think that the right title for him right now would be the TNT title or the TNT championship, even though probably they'll find a way to have him go after the world title again. Going forward, Jungle Boy in the beginning of Rampage beats Isaiah Cassidy. And before we even got into the match, Matt Hardy, what are you doing with saying that Isaiah Cassidy is going to beat that ass?
Pound that ass.
Pound that ass. Like, come on now. I know that the show ain't PG like it is for WWE, but you can't be saying that.
Well, it could be worse. You could be Roman Reigns every week saying he's going to smash somebody.
Oh, I mean, he can say whatever because he's the head of the tribal chief.
You better acknowledge him.
But
The head of the
Jungle
table.
Boy beats Isaiah Cassidy. I'm not shocked about that.
Yeah.
I mean, I kind of figured it was going to happen. It feels, it just sucks that Isaiah Cassidy and Mark Quinn um, can't be doing more as a tandem. I mean, just to see them on Rampage, I guess, is better than nothing. But their whole careers have been derailed. And then with Matt Hardy, just making them even worse. Have them branch off as their own thing again. Because before they were in the Hardy family office, they were in the top of their game. Then you join them up with Matt Hardy and they're like, gone down. But if there's anybody that is trying to reinvent himself, it's this man. Miro says he has been healed, but redeeming will come with a price.
Hmm.
He says he's going to bring fear to every opponent he goes up against. What is AEW trying to do with Miro? Are they trying to rebrand him? Are they really trying to repackage him? Because I hate to say it, like WWE even tried to do that, and you saw how well that worked. Now AEW is trying to repackage Miro, and cool, he won a TNT championship. I think that he was a decent TNT champion, but like, what are you doing with him now? Like, you're having him speak up, be in heaven, speak to God. Like, is he gonna come down from the heavens and like wear white trunks every freaking single week or what? Like, I just need to know what's gonna happen. Like, is he, you know,
Already running out of ideas for Miro, it seems.
yeah, it definitely seems like it.
I mean, when he first came in, he was the best man, so.
So we'll definitely see what happens. I guess I'm okay with him being called the Redeemer, but you better have some big plans for Miro if you're just gonna have him with
Well,
these kind of
don't ask Eddie
promos.
Kingston about Redeemer.
Okay, because all he wants to redeem is these nuts. Um, so going forward, Hook beats Bear
Send Hook.
Bronson, but I think he has a new challenger. Tony Nese was
Yeah.
looking on from the crowd,
Yep.
so I think Tony Nese now knows who his next opponent is. It's Hook. Send Hook. Hook. You better be ready for Tony Nese because he's definitely not gonna be somebody to take lightly. But man, Hook is one strong son of a bitch.
Yeah. It's not about, you know, Taz was saying too, it's not about the, size does not matter when it comes to, uh, judo training and jujitsu training. It's about technique. You got to have
Yeah,
the right technique in order to overpower your enemy.
I mean he definitely has the right technique. This was a true test of like what he could actually do as a wrestler, and I think he was put to the test against Bear Bronson. So Hook beats him, but I think his next opponent is Tony Nese. Could be on Rampage. This coming for later tonight as we're going to have this on. We're recording this on a Thursday. It will premiere on tomorrow, or you know Rampage will be later tonight, so we'll have to see if Hook will be going up against Tony Nese or not. But going forward, Chris Statlander beats Layla Hirsch. Um, they were definitely, showing the best, shaking each other's hands. But Chris Statlander still showcasing she's a beast. I honestly think that Chris Statlander could eventually, hopefully, go up the ranks and hopefully go up after a championship as well because it made no sense to have her lose to Britt Baker. You bring her back, she was doing so well, she was undefeated in her return, and then you have her lose to Britt Baker. What the hell are you doing?
Yeah,
That made absolutely no sense to me at all. But It just sucks for Layla Hirsch too. She's actually really good, but every opportunity she gets is just loss, loss, loss,
Yeah,
loss. When is
I
she gonna
mean,
get her time in AEW? That's what I want to know.
well, when is she gonna get her time as a champion in general? I mean, she did challenge Camille for the NWA Women's Championship earlier this year at NWA Empower and came up on the short end of the stick, but who's to say she couldn't build herself back up in AEW?
Yeah, exactly. Who knows? But again, like we were saying, yes, Cody Rhodes beat Sammy Guevara and now is a three-time TNT champion. Still getting those
Why?
boos. I don't know why they decided to just pull the plug on Sammy Guevara. It just sucks. Unless they have bigger and better things for Sammy going forward. But right now, it's definitely not as a TNT champion, which sucks. Unless they're gonna try to push him and Jericho, which, spoiler alert, Jericho is now back.
Yep.
Hopefully, him and Sammy could probably go after the tag team titles.
Rekindle Les Sex Gods.
Yeah, that'd be nice. Every time he said he wanted to go after TNT, the tag team titles, doesn't happen. So hopefully now with Sammy Guevara no longer being a TNT champion, maybe something down the line that could happen. Um, but again, I guess the only plus side with Cody Rhodes being a three-time champion, it means the open challenges will be back because his first two runs saw a lot of open challenges every single week. So I think that you're going to see the return of the open challenges. And what better way to bring in new talent and doing that?
Yeah.
So, um, time will only tell. But I think this is going to conclude this episode of No Final Bell. Like we were saying, um, there will be an episode next week. As far as the previous week afterwards, I'm not too sure. The following week, I'm sure we probably will be having an episode. It all depends on what happens with, me getting back in Rochester and stuff like that. So we'll have to see what happens with that. I'm gonna try to still have episodes for you guys as much as possible. We're gonna try to have them back on time. Of course, things happen, life happens, we get busy lives, so it sucks. The last 2 weeks have not been right on time, right day, at all. But we do put reminders out there for you guys. So when they are out there, please make sure to watch them. Also, make sure that down below you please follow us on social media. Let us know how we're doing, what you want to see, what you think that we can do better. As far as also, please like, comment, subscribe on all these videos, as well as every Sunday at 9 a.m. every sports talk on Sundays. As right now we are heading into the end of the season as well as going into the playoffs. We'll also talk about some basketball and stuff like that. As weird as it is, Isaiah Thomas is now back in the NBA and he's on the Mavericks right now. It's kind of interesting to see. But again, we will definitely see you in the next video. See you guys.